Hey guys, how's it going? Happy Saturday to you all. I was just thinking a little bit ago before I got on here how crazy it is that we're already going into week 4 in the NFL. Like I always feel like the season goes by so fast, but I don't know, it just feels a little bit different this year. I don't know, like week 4, I mean, I guess we have like an extra week this year because of the added game, but yeah, it just was kind of crazy thinking about how we're already like a month into it. And I don't know. I don't know how you guys feel, but that's how I feel. And then of course we have the long awaited game that I will be talking about today, of course, and that is the Bucs coming to Gillette Stadium. The long hyped, long awaited return of Tom Brady, the high anticipation of this game. I kind of avoided a little bit of all of the drama that's been surrounding this game all week long. Um, there's just like everybody from, I swear, every sports team was talking about this game. And I would say that even though I am a Patriots fan, I think that this is a game that is going to have a lot of eyes on it, no matter who you're a fan of, no matter the team you're a fan of. I think if you're just a fan of football in general, this is certainly a game that you're going to want to tune into. And I think that's why so many people are talking about it. But I didn't want to engage in any of the negativity. There's just so much stuff going on, but we're gonna get into a lot of it today. I just didn't want to deal with any of it this week. I don't know about you guys, but there's just so much that people have been talking about, and it just felt like a replay of last year when Brady decided that he was going to leave the Patriots. It just felt like all week long that the same stuff that they were talking about a year and a half ago was being brought up again. So I'm over it. I can't wait for the game to just be over. And I'm going to express my opinion about this too, because I think there's a lot of different types of opinions on the meaning of this game and who wins and what that means and if it changes anything or the importance of this game. I think that I kind of don't have a very popular opinion, so I'll have to share that. But I want to talk about some news first because not too long ago there were some injury reports and stuff that came out. So before we get into the nitty gritty, let's talk about this. So, a little bit of shocking news coming out of the Bucs. I would say Gronk did not make the flight tonight. Apparently, he has 2 fractured ribs. Jason Pierre-Paul is also not playing. Jamel Dean, he's a cornerback, he's not playing. Gio Bernard not playing, and then another starting cornerback in Carlton Davis is questionable. So that was a lot to take in. The Patriots, of course, put James White on IR, which is super unfortunate. N'Keal Harry was activated from IR though, so that that has a lot of opinions too. They also elevated Miles Bryant and Jelani Tavai from the practice squad, which I think that we were kind of seeing that just based off of, who's been injured and whatnot. And then also Richard Sherman is said to be playing. That one was a little bit shocking to me just because they literally just signed him 3 days ago. So the fact that they're going to actually be playing him is kind of crazy to me. I think that Arians did say though that he'll be active for the game, but not necessarily see a lot of playing time because of how new he is to the team. But when I heard Sherman say that he wasn't going to play or he didn't think he should play for at least a week, I kind of didn't buy it. I feel like the timing of bringing Sherman in, yes, it goes hand in hand with their corners and their secondary just in general being depleted from injury, but it just didn't seem like a coincidence to me that it was this game. So I assumed he was going to play, whether or not it was the entire game. I wasn't sure. It didn't make sense to me because he's been a free agent since January and hasn't done anything. I mean, he wasn't on a team all summer, so he wasn't getting in those workouts, the training camps, the preseason. This is like the first football that he has seen in quite a while. So, there's that. But then the Patriots have a lot of people on their injury report. So they didn't put out or at least from what I saw, I didn't see an updated injury report, but it's quite lengthy. So questionable is Juwan Bentley, Trent Brown, Kyle Duggar, who was added to the injury report this week, which is not thrilling. Nick Folk, JC Jackson, Josh Uche, Kyle Van Noy, who's now dealing with a groin injury, apparently, for the last, 1 or 2 weeks. It had been his throat, whatever that was. Isaiah Wynn. But as of yesterday, Bentley, JC Jackson, and Isaiah Wynn were doing their regular interviews and stuff with the media, which is always a good sign. Generally, that's going to mean that they are playing. Players that obviously are not going to be playing are usually not available to speak to the media. So that is good. I'm still hoping that, Duggar will play. I think that he's a star in the making, but it's possible he's not. And that's why they brought up someone like Miles Bryant. So we'll see. Obviously, the defense has been the better side of the ball recently. So it's not the greatest to see, so many defensive players be on the injury report, especially going into this game. However, on the flip side, we see the Bucs have so many injury issues. I mean, Gronk being out, if that was just the only guy out, that's a huge loss to the Bucs. He's been doing great this season. Definitely seems like a guy who's healthy and, back on track to the type of production that we are used to seeing Gronk doing. So that's a huge loss to them, but a huge gain to the Patriots because the other Bucs tight ends in Brait and Howard haven't really been doing as much as Gronk. So, and then of course the Brady Gronk connection goes back further than, the last 2 years on the Bucs. So let's get into just all the storylines. That's what everyone has been talking about. Let's just get into it. So I have like a lot of things that I have seen people talking about this week. And there's a whole lot, but the biggest thing I think this week is, again, which I feel like we've kind of beaten this to death, this topic, is who is more responsible for the Patriots' success during Brady's tenure with the Patriots. It's not surprising at all that this is a topic that's being discussed again. Obviously, we understand what, all of the background to what is happening this week with Brady returning to the place that he played for 20 years, and he's coming off a Super Bowl win, and all of the rumors of it not going down that great when he decided to leave, and that there was tension between him and Belichick pushed him out the door, blah, blah, blah. So it's not completely surprising that we're talking about this again when we're speaking about this a year and a half ago when he decided he was leaving the team. But I just kind of feel like it's just a talking point at this point. Like it must be a slow news day because I feel like this is all opinion based. There's never going to be a solidified answer for you. Like we're never going to, 5-10 years from now, we're never going to get the answer handed to us. It's just always going to be whatever your opinion is. But what I thought was interesting is I saw an article that Mark Daniels of the Providence Journal put out today, where I guess he asked Rodney Harrison who, in his opinion, he felt was more responsible for the dynasties, basically, who was responsible for more of the success. Rodney said, quote, I think it's stupid, okay? I think it's disrespectful. Not only is it disrespectful to Tom and Bill, but it's disrespectful to all of those players that came along that were part of those championship teams, because at the end of the day, it wasn't Bill and Tom versus everybody else. It was an entire team. I just think it's dumb. So Mark ended up saying that he kind of agreed with him as well, and that not that he regretted asking the question, but I think that he realizes too, as a guy who like covers the Patriots, obviously, that it's just kind of a silly question. That again, it's the age old argument. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? Like it's just one of those things where everyone is going to have their own opinion, and they're going to very much believe in that opinion, and there's not a whole lot that you can say to that person to convince them otherwise. So he did go on to say that he believes Belichick is more responsible. If you want to read that article, go to his Twitter. I think it's just Mark Daniels. Let me double check in case any of you guys are interested. Oh, Mark Daniels PJ. So in case you're interested in that article, there's that. So that is a whole debacle. I feel like I don't really want to get into all of that. If you're interested in my opinion, I struggle with trying to determine what I feel is the correct answer. Not that there really is a correct answer. As I've said, it's all opinion based. I feel like they were a collaborative effort. I don't know that Brady would have been able to do that without Belichick. And I don't know that Belichick would be able to have done all of that without Brady. So it's kind of like, I don't think that it's wrong to say it was a collaborative effort. I think that a lot of people want to put full responsibility on one person. And we know football is a team sport. Like you can't do things on your own. It has to be a team. So that includes coaching. It's not just the players, doing everything on their own. So I'm one of those people. I'm certainly probably one of those annoying people that's not going to give you a straight answer. And it's because that's just how I feel. I know we have the statistics of, what Belichick has done without Brady. He has a losing record without Brady. A lot of people want to bring up last year as an example, since that's more recent than when he was on the Browns. But I don't know that we could then also argue, like, look at Tom without Belichick in his first year in Tampa. Like, I don't really feel like 2020 Tampa Bay versus 2020 Patriots is like a fair comparison. That's just me. It's going to be debated, like I said, until the end of time. So, it's just one of those things that I think it was just an easy thing to talk about this week, simply because of the fact that they're playing on Sunday Night Football and everyone is going to be watching the game. So, it gets lots of clicks, it gets lots of interactions, and I guess that's what people want. And then, of course, there's all of these other topics too. This is just a big sigh from me, okay? Because this is just so exhausting. Is this really a Brady versus Belichick game? Another hot topic that everyone just wants to say. Is Tom Brady seeking revenge against Belichick, and maybe, or is it the other way around? Is Belichick seeking revenge against Brady? Now, if we want to delve into all of this, right? If we're supposed to believe things at face value, it doesn't seem like there is this huge divide between Brady and Belichick. They've been speaking nicely of each other even as recently as this week when talking to the media about this game. I know that a lot of people want to believe that things ended badly and there is some sort of rift between the two, and maybe there is, but I just feel like we haven't really seen any evidence of that. I think that just makes the story more interesting, and I think it makes people who are very pro Tom Brady, not leaving the Patriots especially, it kind of makes them feel a little bit better if they feel like he had a bigger reason to leave than just like he wanted to leave. And I feel he wanted to leave, guys. Like, I don't know. That's my opinion. Again, I feel like I have to preface all of that, but he put his house up for sale before the season, and I don't know. I don't know about you guys, but the 2019 season I felt like was not the typical Brady that we're used to seeing. He just felt very checked out. Like he just did not strike me as what, the usual Brady that we're used to seeing. Other things, does this game really mean anything? Other than the spectacle of it all, why are people so interested invested in the lead up to the game and the aftermath? So I have a lot to say about this. This is what I said that at the beginning, that I feel like a lot of you are not going to necessarily agree with me. But I don't really think this game is that big of a deal. I know that we've never seen something like this before. There's never been a quarterback and head coach that have been together for 20 years. And there certainly has not been a head coach and a quarterback on one team that has had this great of success over that many years. So I understand everything going into it. This is a huge thing. If Brady beats the Patriots, he's beaten every team in the league. And then, of course, everything that comes out of that would be Brady's better than Belichick and blah, 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 blah. But at the end of the day, the thing that I'm confused about is this is only a week 4 game. There's literally no implications from this. There's nothing, that isn't going to it isn't going to change, the playoff picture for either team. It's not going to change the 20 years of success that the two had together. That doesn't change. This doesn't settle any debate. This doesn't settle any conflict that they're rumored to have had. Like, it's just, I think it's a spectacle, like I said, but I just don't think that there's really anything more to it than a week 4 game and a coach and former quarterback playing each other, and what I think the media and fans have built up to be a lot bigger than it actually is. I don't think that is a popular opinion. I think a lot of people believe that there's more to it than that. And I've had a lot of people in my Twitter mentions telling me that this game means everything. And I really don't think so. Brady's reputation and being the GOAT of quarterbacks is not going to change if he loses this game. It's not going to make him more of the GOAT if he wins this game. And the same thing with Belichick. It's not going to diminish all of his accomplishments and everything that he has done in his entire career if he wins or he loses. Nothing changes. It's just going to be one of those things where, hey, we ended up playing the team that our former quarterback went to and we beat them or we lost to them. Okay, we're going on. It's like we're on to Cincinnati. That's basically what it is. Like, I don't know how you guys feel. Let me know. I can even put your comments up here and we can discuss it. But I just don't see it being bigger than that. I just don't. I think it's just all media driven, really. And maybe that's what people wanted. Maybe it's something that NBC wanted because they want to hype the game up even more. Although I don't think they really needed to, because I think if you're a fan of football, you're going to watch this game. And what's funny about that is so many people hated the Patriots because of Tom Brady and their success. But then you see a lot of them still wanting to root for the Bucs. And it's like, what changed? Is it just you hate the Patriots because they were successful? Or did you just, you didn't hate Tom Brady? I don't know what that is about. I think it's kind of funny because, for a really long time, you thought it was like, well, you hate Brady because Brady is the reason that you're successful, right? But it's just kind of funny to see how many people are choosing to pick Brady. King Kato says, hey, Sarah, I made it. Yay. Thank you for making it. I appreciate it. He said, even if Tom wanted out, why he quit on the charities? That I can't answer. That one I was a little shocked about just because he had been connected to a lot of those charities for so long. I don't know if he just wanted to just get out, and have no ties. I don't know. I mean, he seems to be enjoying Florida a lot, which, I mean, dealing with, I don't know, New England weather for so long and being a California guy, maybe that just wasn't for him. But I don't know what that was about. Maybe I think maybe he just wanted a complete out. He didn't want any sort of reminders of the Patriots. He just wanted to be able to go and do whatever he wanted. I don't know. I still feel like it's a little weird. I don't think we ever really got an explanation, but that's just my guess, is that he wanted absolutely no connection at all. Like, he just wanted to cut those strings and be a Tampa guy without having to worry about anything going on in Boston. Mac 10 says, I appreciate Tom and have the utmost respect for him, but this is the Patriots versus Bucs Pats fan till I die. Yeah, no, for sure. That's exactly how I am as well. I think a lot of people are misunderstanding that. Of course, if you're a Patriots fan of any generation, of any age, you're going to have incredible respect for Brady and appreciate him for everything that he did for the team for 20 years. I mean, I don't think anyone could have envisioned the success, the longevity of success that he was able to sustain while he was in New England. And it's hard to just ignore that or to push that to the side or be mad at him for leaving. I think that some fans of other teams don't really understand because they feel that if that were their team, that they would feel betrayed by Brady. And I don't feel that way. I think that we were lucky that they were even a pairing together for 20 years. I mean, that's unheard of. It's never been done before. So I mean, I think that when you're in the moment, you kind of take things for granted and you don't really appreciate what you have in that moment. And I think for a lot of us, as fans, we were so used to the Patriots being so successful year in and year out and expecting the same types of play and production from Brady for so long that, it's been hard to get used to having to basically start over. And, but I don't think that negates like your feelings towards Tom. Like, of course, if you're a Patriots fan, you're cheering for the Patriots this weekend. There are some people who followed him to Tampa who claim to have formerly been Patriots fans, and maybe that's true. Just a little odd to me, but yeah, definitely is Patriots versus the Bucs. It's just the fun storyline to make it about the coach and the former quarterback. It's just easy to sell, newspapers and get people to click on your stories. And it's fun to have some sort of rivalry built in to a game. Like, it just makes people feel like it's more interesting, I guess. But if you're a football fan like me, then you watch whatever game is on. It doesn't matter if it's the 0-14 Browns versus the 2-12 Bengals on Sunday Night Football. You're going to watch it because you love football. So let's see. I'll get to a couple more of your comments and questions. Oh, Sean says, I'm assuming, Super Bowl 49 is on the NFL Network right now. If anyone is interested, always a good one to watch. A lot more entertaining than Super Bowl 51, which is not entertaining until the end of the third quarter, fourth quarter. Super Bowl 49 is a good one to watch all around. Let's see. Kincaid for Brady. If he wins, he will be able to say he beat the greatest coach of all time. So many are all saying he's not the GOAT. So this would help shut up his haters. True to a point, but at the same time, he just won his 7th Super Bowl and people are still saying he's not the GOAT. I mean, I literally was just seeing people saying something about it yesterday that he's not the GOAT. It's Aaron Rodgers or what did I see? There was something crazy from the other day and I can't remember who it was, because usually when you see these things, it's like people who want to say that Brady's not the GOAT. They usually are saying, Aaron Rodgers, Peyton Manning, Joe Montana. So some of them aren't like horrible answers. I still don't understand how you can say that Aaron Rodgers is the GOAT. And I'll never understand how after being in the league for 4 years, starting for 3, how you can say Patrick Mahomes is the GOAT. But, if that's what makes him feel better, then that's whatever. Ron94 says it's Patriots versus Bucs, not Bill versus Tom. I 100% agree. Mac 10, the Patriots needed to go through a rebuild, and I don't blame Tom at his age for going to another team that was completely ready. Brady's time was limited, is all it was. And that's what I think it was, is I think he is such a win now type of guy, and especially towards the end of his career, you knew like from like 49, Super Bowl 49, since we just mentioned it, they kind of were in a win now mentality, and they had to be because it's unheard of for a quarterback to be playing until they're 43, 44, 45 years old. So, by Super Bowl 49, it was like he was getting close to 40. That's usually when historically quarterbacks start declining. And regardless of Brady being the GOAT, he's not a superhuman, even though he apparently is. I don't know if it's from not eating strawberries or if it's eating that avocado ice cream, but he certainly appears to be superhuman because he doesn't seem to have slowed down at all. He seems to be playing some of his best football. I think that I agree with you for sure is that, Tampa, I think, was a surprising choice for most people. When it first came out that it was Tampa, because it was like, why are you going to Tampa? Like, that's such a random place. I think a lot of people were thinking he was going to go to LA, or, there was just that story about San Francisco. So, but Tampa made sense. They had some great pieces on offense and defense at that time. And then, of course, he recruited people. He recruited Gronk and Antonio Brown, and he's been trying to recruit other people. There's rumors of him trying to recruit Edelman. So, he got to do what he wanted to do. He wanted more control on the team, and basically has been handed the keys to the team. Especially even from Arians, who's admitted that he's, done play calling and stuff. Like, a lot of the shots go through Brady. So I guess when you're at that age and you want to keep winning and you want more control, that's where you go. And that's exactly what he wanted. And he seems to be so happy. Like, Tampa Tom is a real thing. I didn't think that we would see a different type of Tom Brady off of, what we've seen for 20 years, but Tampa Tom is real. And he, I guess we have to enjoy it from afar. But root against him on Sunday night. King Cato, is Gronk avoiding coming back to Belichick shutting him down? So this is a thing too, okay? So I said this on Twitter and it was not well received, at least by one person, because it didn't gain a lot of traction or anything. It was a response to somebody. But I was saying that I do not think that Gronk is not coming to this game because of Belichick and the Patriots and whatnot. I do believe that he has a severe injury. If you watched last week's game and you saw that hit on him, it certainly looked brutal. And I was still surprised. I'm still surprised that he even came back in that game. I remember I was telling my sister, oh, Gronk just got hurt. And then I saw him in like a couple plays later and I was like, wait, what? Like, I totally thought he was going to be done for that game. So, they said that there were some, x-rays and additional tests that showed he did have fractured ribs. So I 100%, believe that. But I said on Twitter, I wouldn't be surprised if part of this hesitancy for this game is because of who they're playing. I think that a lot of that goes into play here. It's only week 4. It's not a game that he has to play because, as I said earlier, there are no playoff implications here. It's not a Super Bowl. There's nothing really on the line for them other than, of course, they lost last week to the Rams, but there's nothing really of importance there. And we know players have spoken about this, and we know just from being, a Patriots fan from our own team that when a player is hurt, they will try to kind of like push away their injury or try to rush back, hurry back in order to play. So I think that if this was not something that was as severe as it appears to be, that he would have rushed to come back to make sure that he could play this game. So I believe that his ribs are probably messed up. But I also believe that, if he somehow plays next week, that it's possible that part of the reason he wasn't available this week is because he had no intention of wanting to go back to New England. And I have very mixed feelings on Gronk and how he left the Patriots, but I think that's a topic for another day because, Anyway, so let's get back into some of the other storylines that are going into this. I think I kind of covered this. Yeah. Will the result of the game change anything about the dynasty or about the success that Brady and Belichick had together? The answer is no. Nothing is changing from this. Like absolutely nothing. Just changes our record. Of course, for the Bucs, it would certainly help them to beat us since they just lost to the Rams, and it was definitely help the Patriots because this would be their third home loss if they were to lose. And if they still want any sort of chance to go to the playoffs, then they need to win this game. And it would be an impressive win for, you know, for a rookie quarterback, especially to go against the Super Bowl champions, the current Super Bowl champions, and beat them. So, but at the end of the day, no, nothing changes. How do fans really feel about the outcome of this game? See, for me, of course, I'm rooting for the Patriots. I want the Patriots to win. I'm happy that Brady is thriving and happy in Tampa, but Patriots all the way. And I'll be incredibly bummed if they lose. I don't really have a lot of hope. I'm trying to be optimistic about their chances. But yeah, I think that with all their injuries that they reported today and all of the guys who will not be playing, I think that kind of helps the optimism a little bit. But yeah, I think that it'll just feel like a loss to me and maybe a little extra sprinkle of like, because like of who the loss would be to. But otherwise it's like, again, to me, it's just another game. Will Richard Sherman really be a threat to Mac Jones and receivers? My answer is no. Richard Sherman is not the same Richard Sherman of 2014 or prior to that. We also don't know how much he's going to play. Arians did say that he won't be seeing a lot of playing time simply because he's so new to the team. I think it would be kind of foolish to be giving him a lot of playing time anyway because of that reason. Like, I understand Richard Sherman, the name and the career that he has had, but he has not been he hasn't been the scary Richard Sherman from the past. So I'm not too concerned about it. I feel like it's kind of a benefit to the Patriots that he's not really been doing anything football related for 7-8 months. And he's been injured a lot. Plus, we don't really know how he's going to do this year because we haven't seen anything from him. We didn't see a preseason. We didn't see anything at training camp. We've only heard about his incident with his family, and that is completely unrelated to football. So if we're going to be expecting anything from him, I don't anticipate him to be anything to worry about necessarily. Faisal says Sherman is washed and 2019 was the end for Sherman. I believe he got injured again, right? Wasn't it another Achilles or something? Like he tore his other Achilles. Joel says Richard Sherman will be a depth piece. Yeah, they're going to put him in, and I'm assuming sparingly. Obviously, I think that it's not a coincidence that they signed him this week. He's been a free agent since he didn't re-sign with the Niners. So, I mean, they very easily could have signed him sooner if they wanted just a depth piece. But maybe because they feel like he's starter caliber, they didn't bring him in because they felt comfortable with who they had. And it was convenient because of injuries. I don't know. I just think that there's a little bit more to it than just, we'll bring him in because of injury. Because it really doesn't make sense for him to be playing. And because this kind of goes hand in hand, is this going to be a breakout game for Mac in the passing game? Since the Bucs secondary is beat up. So a lot of people are talking about that. I think that we're definitely going to see a lot more passing this week because the Bucs have an insane front seven on their defense. I don't know how they're going to be super successful in the run game. So I'm assuming that they're going to go for a lot of passing plays, and they're capable of doing well. We saw that Matt can sling it. And, I know that a lot of people were kind of making jokes about N'Keal Harry's return from IR, but actually Mac and N'Keal had done really well together in training camp and whatnot. So I think, it was being reported basically that N'Keal was having the best camp. So I like that connection and I hope it can work. I'm someone who wants to believe that N'Keal can be good. I know that a lot of people have given up on him because of injuries, and then we haven't seen anything to really make you optimistic about him. So I certainly don't blame anybody for not caring or not having any positive feelings about him. But I think that the possibility is there for there to be something good. And I'm hopeful that the Mac and N'Keal connection can kind of pick back up again from training camp. And maybe that is somebody that the Bucs haven't prepared for. So I think that Mac should be able to sling it tomorrow. And, we'll see, because they might also be anticipating that. This is the thing, too. This other aspect of the game is who knows Belichick better than Brady and who knows Brady better than Belichick, right? So there's a lot of levels to this game, and I think the game planning is going to be very, very interesting, because I think Arians is certainly going to lean a lot on Brady, because obviously Brady knows Gillette Stadium in and out. He knows that team. He knows those coordinators. He knows the head coach. He knows a lot of those players and how they operate. So he's going to be giving them a lot of the advice and, the types of plays that they should be calling and whatnot. And then, of course, Belichick is going to have to try to prepare for Brady, but he was helping Brady prepare for 20 years. So I think that it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But, we'll find out tomorrow night. Let's see. I just answered that question. So this is another one too. What is the effect going to be of losing James White to IR, and who is going to fill in for his absence? This was a heartbreaker. Kind of one of those freak injuries, I feel like. I don't think that a lot of people think about when a player lands awkwardly, maybe on their side, that you think about something happening to their hip. But if you have been living under a rock, it was reported that James White subluxated his hip, and apparently it can be a severe injury that could also possibly be career ending. And I think that is such a sucky way for such an amazing guy like James White to go out. I am so hopeful that they can somehow figure out a way to make sure that doesn't happen. And it's just really unfortunate for the offense this year, because I feel like James White was going to be a lot more involved than he was last year. Obviously, last year had some things going on with his family that kept him out, or maybe not as involved, but that's not happening this year. I think that we were seeing him pick back up where we've seen him before, and he was going to have a workload similar to what he's had a couple years ago. So super unfortunate, very reliable passing back. So who's going to fill in for him? I think this is going to be interesting. We know Damian Harris can do it, but he seems to be running back one, so I don't really know that they're going to try and do that. It's possible this is when JJ Taylor gets more involved. This is where you're missing also Rex Burkhead. Obviously you don't anticipate James White to get hurt. You don't anticipate anybody to get hurt, but it would definitely be a huge benefit if they still had someone like Rex Burkhead. Just another guy that is reliable in the passing game just as much as he is in the run game. Who do you guys think is going to fill in for him? I'm kind of unsure about it. I'm not really sure. I think that it's going to be a huge loss. And then, of course, is the secondary really missing Gilmore? Is that going to be an issue in this game? I think that the secondary has been better than what I anticipated them to be without Gilmore. I had a lot of question marks heading into this season with J.C. Jackson possibly ending up being cornerback one. I wasn't thrilled on it. I like him. And I think he has the potential to one day possibly be a cornerback one. But when we saw it last year with Gilmore's injury, I didn't love what I saw from him, and I don't think a lot of people really did. I think that obviously he had a ton of interceptions, and that counts a lot. He did great in that aspect, and he's already gotten 2 interceptions this year. So he's possibly on the same path this year. But I feel like in some instances you kind of sit there and you're like, oh man, like we wish we had Gilmore. I think that they're definitely missing him. I hope that he will be back. I think he can't return until after week 6. And then even then, after week 6, it's just going to depend on what they end up doing. If they sign him, they re-sign him, they bring him back. I don't know. I don't really know how much draft capital he really has at this point. I mean, some people still believe that, he's great. And I believe that he's great. He had a good year last year, despite his injury. And a lot of people want to say that he didn't do great last year, but he did. It's just unfortunate that he dealt with injuries and then eventually it ended his season. But I think a healthy Gilmore is an amazing Gilmore. So he would definitely be boosting this secondary. But I'm impressed for the most part with Jalen Mills and JC Jackson and the others that have been filling in for him. So I want to see what you guys are saying. Raw 94, didn't we have a running back workout this week? I don't know what running. Oh, okay. Here he is. Kincaid-O. So I saw kickers and long snapper, not running backs. Yeah, I did not see running backs. It's possible I did not see that, but I might have missed it. Another Lost Soul says, will Trent Brown play tomorrow? I hope so. I don't think that he's necessarily going to be someone who is going to, help the offensive line be amazingly better and get to a point where we need them to be, but he is a huge man. He is a giant of a person. So having him on the line is a lot better than not having him on the line. And from what we've seen and the guys that are filling in for him, it has not been great. So if we can get him back in there and get back to the type of production that we normally get from him, that would be awesome and ideal and all of the other great words that I would say. Anyway, so I did have some Twitter questions, not a whole lot, but I want to include these. So these are all from Twitter. This is from Vicariously P, and he says, it's not normal for the Patriots, but is week for the Super Bowl for the Patriots. I feel like with some of the players, maybe, I think as far as like Belichick goes, I'm going to say no. It's possible that there's some hidden or, pent up aggression or, I don't know, more emotion involved when it comes to like Belichick, but I don't think that it spreads to like the locker room. I don't really think that a lot of the players that are there that did play with Brady, I don't think that there's any like animosity there. So I think that the media has kind of made it out to be this big of a game. I just don't know that I necessarily believe it's that big of a game. And I'm hopeful that the team doesn't play in that way, just because I think that that could hinder them. And I don't want anything like that to be some sort of distraction for them, because, you want them to win. You don't want something like, all of the drama that everyone's been talking about all week long has anything to do with how they play. That would just be kind of lame. Carl, who is also Vinyl 250, said, what do you think about the Bucs secondary? I think if McDaniels lets Mac throw the ball downfield, we will have a big chance to win that game. Myers and Bourne will be important. I did like the involvement of Kendrick Bourne last week. I thought it was nice to see him more involved because we haven't seen a lot from him. And I think that there is that, he was a signing that I know that a lot of people weren't like super excited about, but I think that, I don't know, I think he's a good piece on offense, and I liked what we saw from him last week. If they're not going to be involving Aguilar, especially, I know that people are iffy with him, then I think that bringing in Bourne is essential. And if we look at tape from the season so far, there's not a whole lot that the Bucs would be able to really prepare for when it came to Kendrick Bourne, because he's not really played a lot for the Patriots so far. So that could definitely be um, a good shot to use him for sure. And then of course Jacoby Myers, I think he's a favorite. He's like, I was looking into fantasy starters and the stardom situms today, and like so many of them had to start Jacoby. So I would like, I want to see Jacoby score though, because he still has not scored a touchdown yet, which is insane to me. So if they're going to be utilizing him, that's great. He's reliable. He's done great, but I need him to score. You can't be great all game long and you don't score. I mean, I know that that's a collaborative thing. Don't come for me, but anyway, Andy said he is Brodus _ operandi. He says this Pats team very clearly needs to have at least one player to step up and be a playmaker that consistently shows out. Who do you think some candidates for that should be on both sides of the ball? I really want to see a breakout of one of the tight ends. I really, 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 really want to see Jonnu Smith or Hunter Henry go off. I think that when you bring in those two guys, the two top tight ends that any team could have gone for in free agency, you don't bring them in to just catch a couple balls in a game. You want them to be able to dominate at the line and dominate downfield. So I want to see them more involved, and I don't want to see any more drops from Jonnu. I really hope that he just like got all his drops out last week, because that was horrible. So I'm really hopeful that that is out of the way. I don't know that I necessarily like one of them more than the other. I think we've seen things from both of them that I liked. I really liked Jonnu in preseason. But obviously we know what Hunter Henry is capable of, and even we've seen glimpses of it this season as well. But I just need just one of them to be some sort of dominant piece, because it's been so long since we've had a dominant tight end, and I've been waiting for it since they signed these guys. As far as defense goes, I don't know that he needs to necessarily step up, but I want to keep seeing Matt Judon go off. I am loving what we're seeing from him so far. He's doing exactly what we need him to do and what exactly Bill Belichick brought him in to do. And I just want to keep seeing that go further and further. He's already leading the team in sacks, and he's up there in tackles for a loss and quarterback hits. So we know that that's one way to get Brady off of his game, is to pressure him, to take him down, to hit him. So, and Judon has no connection to Brady whatsoever. So if people are a little bit worried about, if any defensive players that played with Brady, if they would be hesitant to take Brady down, I don't think that's true. I think if anything, they're probably looking forward to it, because they've never been able to do it. They don't do that in practice with quarterbacks. But Judon has no connection. He was on the Ravens. So if anything, he probably doesn't like Brady. I hope that we can get some sacks there tomorrow. If they can bring him down, do something to kind of get him off his game, I'm for it. Raw94 says, Matt Judon, we need to get a couple of strip sacks tomorrow. Strip sacks is asking for a lot, but sacks, I think, yes, that would be great. And I would like to see Hightower and Van Noy be back to like what we've seen from them before, but I think we've seen Van Noy has been dealing with some injuries, so I don't know. But Hightower has kind of been quiet, I think. I don't know what that's about, if he's kind of injured, if it's because of taking that year off was good for him, but then not good for him. I don't know what's going on there. But yeah, he's just not really that dominant guy that we're used to seeing. And I think that for how excited most fans were to have him back this year, it's a little disappointing. So hopefully, as the season progresses, we will see more of the Dante Hightower that we know and love. Because, we have only seen 3 games so far. I think people tend to forget that. We still have 14 weeks of football. So there's still a lot of football left to be played. Let's see. Sean Macefield said, can the O-line protect Mac long enough to get the Bucs depleted secondary? I'm hopeful. I think that Trent Brown is going to be a huge piece if they can bring him in tomorrow. I think that this is another reason why the tight ends need to get involved more, because obviously it is more difficult for people or secondaries or any defensive player to take down a tight end. I think that obviously they've needed that blocking component in a tight end. But this offensive line has been beaten up and has been completely blasted by defenses over the first 3 weeks. So last week was just embarrassing to a certain degree. Like, it was just, I don't think that the offensive line was something that most people were anticipating to be an issue this year. I think that we were kind of all equally feeling like it was going to be a solid part of the game and of the team. So it's worrisome that it hasn't been that way yet. And I'm kind of hoping that maybe it's just from, injuries and whatnot. But we'll have to see. I really hope Trent Brown will play. We'll know tomorrow morning. But I think that they can do it. They do have a very tough defensive line. So they're going to need to be good at it. Otherwise, they're going to do absolutely nothing. Mac's not going to be able to do anything if they can't stop that line, because they're that Bucs defense, man, if they can't do the run game because of that line, and then you can't protect Mac, then it's going to be a long game, and I'm sure it'll probably be a blowout. So Matt says last week was tough to watch in person. Oh, I'm sure. It was tough to watch at home too. And I wasn't able to watch the entire game, and normally that's really upsetting to me because I like to be able to sit down and just watch the whole game, but I wasn't too mad about it based off of what happened. So, let's see. Kincado, due to the opt-out, Hightower is in a contract year and the tackles were questionable, not out. My bad. Oh, no worries. But yeah, I think we just need to see more from Hightower. That's what I'm hoping for. And Raw 94 agrees with me that the tight ends need to step up. Yes, I think part of it is not all their fault. I just think, it's kind of play calling too. It seems like they're not involving them as much as I was thinking. I think the last stream, which was Tuesday. We kind of talked about that we weren't really seeing a lot of double tight end sets, and that was a little bit surprising. It felt like maybe that was too obvious for us to think that was what was going to happen because of the tight ends that they brought in. But the fact that we haven't really seen a lot of that is a little odd still to me. Let's see what other questions. This one kind of goes with what we talked about. This is from Tear Up My Tickets. He says, who knows Tommy better than BB? What do you think Belichick has planned defensively? And will the Bucs' lack of defensive backs cause a Jones throw-a-thon, especially with Pierre-Paul missing from the pass rush? 7 points may actually be pretty generous. That would be awesome. And that's the thing, for everyone who wants to say it's going to be a blowout, they are only favored by 7. I think it's up to 7 now. It was 6.5. It might be 7 now. I think Jason Pierre-Paul being out is a huge loss for the Patriots, or huge loss for the Bucs. I'm sorry. Big benefit for the Patriots. Let me see. What was the rest of the question? Yeah. And I kind of already talked about this too, that they know each other so well. It's really hard to predict, even just as a fan, what the game plan is going to be, who's going to be used a lot, what they're going to plan on doing, what the plan of attack is going to be on Brady and that defense. It's very hard to predict. So because they know each other so well, who knows? They probably are trying to think of something that they think the other one is not going to think of, which sometimes can actually mess you up. But I'm going to believe that the GOAT versus the GOAT bowl, that is like what Edelman called it. I think it's going to be good. I'm hopeful it's not going to be very disappointing and that there wasn't all of this hype, over nothing. Then there's a few of these questions. This one's from Dougie's Going Deep and Wancho Gordillo. They both basically were asking, does Josh McDaniels open the playbook and let Mac throw? I think that, yeah, he's going to have to. He's going to have to get a little bit creative. I'm sure that they have some sort of creative plays for this anyway, because once they announced that this game was happening, I'm sure they realized very quickly that that means Brady is coming, and Brady is going to know exactly what we're going to do or what we're going to plan for. Because it wasn't just Belichick that he was with for, he was with him for 20 years, but he was with McDaniels for a good period of time throughout those 20 years. So I would like to think that McDaniels will not be the McDaniels of what we've been seeing the last few weeks, but I think that a lot of us have been hoping to see some things different from him, and so far this season that's not been the case. So I feel like I just don't even want to get into the Josh McDaniels debate. I don't even want to talk about it because I feel like that just dampens my mood. I just want to be optimistic, okay? Oh, and Joel, because Joel's in here. Joel Shapiro 20, he asked on Twitter, who is the best receiving option for the Patriots against the Bucs? I think that really does depend on what they're trying to do, but I'm still all for Nelson Aguilar. He's a good deep threat. I know a lot of people don't like him, but as I said earlier, I also like Kendrick Bourne. I think, he showed great promise last week, and I think that we need to get the tight ends involved. I think that's going to be very important. So that's what I want to see mostly. I think, it'd be great to have Jacoby Myers get more involved, but more so in scoring. But yeah, I'm going to say tight ends, Kendrick Bourne, and a little Nelson Aguilar. But again, too, I forgot N'Keal Harry. A little bit scary to think about having N'Keal be like the step up guy because he's been gone for the first 3 games. So, how much he's been able to do since being activated, making his return is a little questionable. We don't know, but yeah, I would say those guys. T Organics 1 said, can Belichick figure out a way to slow down the Tampa offense in Brady? This is one part that I am worried about, just because they do have some really great pieces on offense. They have Godwin, they have Mike Evans. Then they have Leonard Fournette and Rojo, Antonio Brown, and we know what he's capable of. I think it's going to be hard. It's going to definitely be reliant on slowing those guys down and trying to keep up with them. This is a game that I definitely feel like we should have had Gilmore for, which sucks. They could also try to use the run game a lot because our line is not historically good at stopping the run. They were historically bad last year. They've gotten a little bit better this year, but it's not been great. So if they do try to keep the ball on the ground, I don't think that should be surprising. We know Brady can air it out. He has a ton of guys he can air it out to. So I wouldn't be surprised if that happens either. But it's going to probably be a lot of our secondary, and that's going to be a huge test for them because those guys are fast and they break ankles like every week. So it's going to be a lot for them to try and keep up with and to slow down. I don't know that you really can slow down their offense. The only way, of course, that we, like I said a little bit ago about slowing Brady down is to try and apply pressure, get to him, knock him down, because that always kind of messes with him. It messes with any quarterback, but we know that Brady doesn't like that, and it kind of, I don't know, it gets him off his game a little bit. So I think that they're going to need to do that for sure. Oh, this was a tough question. I want to know your guys your opinions on this too. What this is from, who is this from? Matt Turbin. He said, what is more important, offensive line pass protection for the Pats or pass rush for the Pats? This was a very hard question for me because I think both are very important. We need the pass protection on for Mac because what we saw last week was just horrible. The kid could barely do anything. It seemed like the second he tried to breathe, they were on him. And then, of course, the pass rush has certainly gotten better than it was last year, but we need to keep that going. We need to see that with Brady because I've said it a million times. That's the best way to get Brady to get off the field is to rush him, to knock him down, to sack him, whatever you got to do. All inside the legal lines of the NFL, of course. Okay. Matt says protect Mac at all costs. Simple. Yeah, I really do think that is very important. It's so hard for me to choose whether one is more important than the other because I think both are very important. But if we want any sort of success in scoring, then I'm going to say protect Mac because the defense can do what the defense does. They've been good. And we know that Brady's going to score anyway. We know what Brady can do. So we can't rely on the defense to be the only source of points. So I think Matt makes a good point. Matt Turbin to Matt. I don't think it's the same Matt, but yeah, I think if I had to choose, I guess I would go with that one. Oh, this is an interesting question, kind of off topic, but kind of relevant. This is from Christopher 12M. Why did they go with a rookie quarterback instead of the man who made the Super Bowl? Now, this is obviously a Cam stan, which, I feel for you because I myself am also a Cam stan. I don't think that I am in the same way that people say about Cam stans, but I still think that I can't really answer this question. The reason that we heard from Cam himself was that he was going to be a distraction, which to a certain extent that is true, but I think that the same could be said if the situation were reversed. If Cam was the starter, then Mac could also be deemed a distraction. Not because he was doing anything, but because so many people were against Cam being the quarterback. Every week, every game, people would be biting at the bit to say, oh, Cam just did that. That's not good. When is Mac coming in? When is Mac coming in? When is Mac coming in? So it's possible, Cam is a big personality. It's possible that has some truth to it. But, I was thinking, I watched a video from, I think it was for Speak for Yourself. And I was surprised I was agreeing with Mark Sanchez. Okay. Because no, but he was saying that it's been over the past few years where teams have felt that when they draft a quarterback, especially in the first round, that they feel like almost forced to start their rookie season, and that's not beneficial to them or the team. And I agree with that. I would have had no problem with them drafting Mac at 15 and having him sit for a year. And I think, we get kind of infatuated with the rookie quarterbacks that come out and they're fantastic in their rookie year. And it was like, can you imagine sitting him for a year? Like, look at what you would be sitting on. And it's like, that makes sense, but that is like, that doesn't, it doesn't happen often. The type, how many times have you seen a rookie come out, start and do fantastic the first year? It doesn't happen like that often. And so to take that risk, it's very risky. And if you listen to what some of these reporters were saying, once Cam was released, they said, don't be mistaken, Mac won the job hands down. And maybe that's the truth. Maybe they liked what they saw from Mac. It's just hard for me to figure out, honestly, because everything up until they released Cam looked like they were going to go with Cam as a starter. So I feel like I can't answer this question. I mean, if we're going to reference Super Bowl, it was also from 6 years ago. So I don't know that we can really say. I mean, Cam is obviously not the same quarterback from 6 years ago. Yeah, and Matt says the Chiefs traded up and drafted Mahomes and sat him, and look what happened. Exactly. He sat behind Alex Smith, who is now retired from a fluky injury, but still a great guy to sit behind and learn from. And that was something that Mark said. And I think that he was even speaking from experience himself, because they started him his rookie year. And even though he did see some success with the Jets, he certainly isn't more memorable than anything other than like the butt fumble. If we're being honest, like, people aren't going to remember Mark Sanchez for being a great quarterback, or for maybe he had a great rookie year. I don't know firsthand, but I don't remember. But yeah, I don't see anything wrong with that. But I feel like there has to be some sort of other layer to that situation, and I don't know if that's something that we're ever going to know. I feel like it's like the great Patriots secret, kind of like, why was Malcolm Butler benched in Super Bowl 52? Like, I don't know that we're ever going to actually know the answer to that. But I think that was like the last question that I had, guys. And boy, did I talk a lot longer than I normally do, but I appreciate you guys hanging with me. Let's see. King Cato, didn't Cam also say it was an illusion, talking about although he got the first reps that Jones got more, or something like that? I don't know. I honestly did not watch the interview with him and his dad. I hadn't, because I felt like I was just so disappointed that they released him, and I felt like I wasn't emotionally prepared to watch it at that moment. I just think I forgot about it in the weeks coming up, because I wanted to be excited about what the team was doing at that moment, and he wasn't part of the team anymore, and I didn't want to keep dwelling on it. But yeah, I think I did hear something about that, and I think that it is going to be a question, at least with me, about like what this season could have been with Cam as the starter, because I was excited about him getting a much better team overall, not just offensively, to play with. And I think that was exciting. So it's unfortunate that we'll never be able to see what that is. That's another thing that I think is always going to be like a what if with this team. And maybe that's not something that a lot of people will feel, but that's how I feel. Let's see. If you guys have any more questions, shoot them at me, guys. I'm going to take a quick drink, because I don't know if you guys saw on Twitter, but I had some dental work done on Thursday. So if I was a little bit like, I don't know, what's the word? I don't know, sounding a little different, it's because I'm still dealing with some of that still. So anyway, I will give you guys a second. Let me see if I think I got all of the questions, though, for the most part. Yeah, I think I did. So anyway, thank you guys for joining me today. We hit a new high number of viewers, so thank you guys. Don't forget to subscribe. I would appreciate you guys too if you would share this on Twitter. I do live stream on Twitter. It goes on YouTube and Twitter. I would appreciate all the shares, all the love that you possibly can. Hopefully, when I'm back on Tuesday, I might have a little surprise. I have a green screen, so I'm hoping that I'll have like a cooler background for you guys. But yeah, so I want to keep this going. And thank you guys for joining. I really appreciate it. And I will see you on Tuesday. Enjoy the game. Don't forget to enjoy the game. Okay. Bye, guys.